your heart stops, blood flow to your brain decreases, and within seconds, electrical activity begins to collapse. By every measurable standard, you are unconscious, and yet people across the world report the same thing. They rise above their body, they move through darkness, they see a brilliant light, they encounter something or someone waiting for them. Who is seeing the light? Tonight, we begin one of the most settling and mysteries of our time: near-death experiences. Now, if you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Carrie and I'm a scientist. And when I was a teenager, I encountered something supernatural. Ever since then, I have been curious about the unknown. Near-death experiences, or NDEs, are reported by people who come close to death, or those who are clinically dead before being resuscitated. In essence, those that glimpse beyond the veil, even briefly. Common elements appear again and again: a sensation of leaving the body, viewing events from above, passing through darkness or a tunnel, encountering a bright light, meeting deceased relatives, feeling overwhelming peace, and then returning, but you return permanently changed. In a major prospective hospital study of cardiac arrest survivors, 18% reported a near-death experience. Not dreams, not vague impressions, detailed, structured experiences. And here's what makes this so difficult. These experiences occur during moments when the brain should not be capable of producing vivid conscious narratives. So the central question becomes avoidable. Is the brain under extreme stress, or is something we don't yet understand about consciousness itself occurring? Let's start in a hospital. A patient goes into cardiac arrest. No pulse, no measurable circulation, and resuscitation efforts begin. Minutes later, the patient is revived. Later, when interviewed, they report something extraordinary. They watched doctors working on their body. They heard conversations. They felt detached, calm, observing. In a Dutch prospective study of 344 cardiac arrest patients, 62 of them reported an NDE, 18% exactly. That is not rare. And here is the tension. Cardiac arrest is meant to deprive the body of oxygen. Within seconds, consciousness could collapse. So how do structured, vivid experiences occur in that window? And here's the twist. Over half the people who report a near-death experience were not actually in medical danger. If you don't have to be dying to experience an NDE, what exactly triggers it? For decades, popular culture framed this as proof of the afterlife, but neuroscience offers another explanation. Under extreme stress, our brains can behave in extraordinary ways. So which is it? The mind escaping the body? Or is it the brain constructing one final experience? Before we jump to conclusions, we need to understand what the brain does under threat. When the brain is deprived of oxygen, a condition known as hypoxia occurs. Predictable things then happen. Peripheral vision fades fast, the visual field narrows. This can create sensation of a tunnel. Is the tunnel of light simply your retina shutting down from edge inwards? Under extreme stress, the brain releases endorphins, which are natural opioids or happy hormones. These produce euphoria, brain suppression, as well as calm acceptance. That explains the peace. So what about leaving the body? Some researchers point to the temporoparietal junction, a region involved in spatial awareness and body ownership, disrupted, and people feel as though they are floating above themselves. So perhaps the tunnel is explained by oxygen loss, the peace by the endorphins, and the out of body experience, perhaps that can be attributed to disrupted body mapping. It sounds convincing, yet why do these experiences follow a structured narrative? Darkness, light, you have your encounter, there's usually a life review before a return. Random neural misfiring doesn't usually produce consistent story arcs. There is another layer to this mystery. Some neuroscientists argue that the self, the feeling of I, is not a fixed entity, but rather a constructed process, a model generated by the brain. If that's true, then during extreme stress, the model could destabilize. The sense of self could detach from body representation. This would explain why people feel separate from their physical form. But it raises a deeper question. If the self is a construction, why does it feel more real than ever during a near-death experience? Many survivors say that this experience felt more vivid than normal life. They experienced heightened clarity, expanded awareness, as well as time distortion. How does a brain that is busy shutting down produce heightened consciousness? Now we have to talk about where the science struggles. Let's be clear. Science explains a lot. Hypoxia explains the visual narrowing, neurochemistry explains that feeling of euphoria, brain mapping explains dissociation. But several things remain difficult for science. Why do only 18% of cardiac arrest survivors report an NDE? Why not the full 100%? Why are experiences structured and coherent and not random misfirings of a dying brain? Why do long-term personality transformation effects occur after experiencing an NDE? And why are they so consistent? And then why do some people report accurate perceptions during unconsciousness when they shouldn't be able to see or hear? And perhaps the most uncomfortable question, is measurable brain inactivity the same thing as absence of experience? Our instruments can measure electrical activity, but can they measure all possible forms of consciousness? We simply don't know. Let's separate, and what that leaves us with is the question that began this episode. If the brain appears offline, who or what is seeing the light? In the next episode, we examine the strongest modern cases, including claims of verified perception during clinical death, and ask whether they survive scientific scrutiny. Until then, what do you think consciousness really is?